Hi, I'm Kevin, and welcome to Ask a Stoic. Today's question is again about spiritual exercises, specifically those which fall within the domain of logic. We discussed previously that philosophy is traditionally divided into three parts: logic, physics, and ethics. And today we're going to discuss the spiritual exercises that correspond to logic. So logic is a necessary part of studying philosophy. You need to be able to weigh arguments, to make good arguments, to make sure that they're valid and reasonable. And it's generally the first introduction of a student to philosophy. However, Stoicism, as being a philosophy of life, leans heavily on spiritual exercises. So the first core part of logic and spiritual exercises are the proper use of judgments. So as we talked about previously in another video, the proper use of judgments, we are presented by our body and our mind impressions of the world constantly. And most folks automatically and very quickly attach value judgments to those impressions, and they assent to them without weighing their validity. So one of the things we're training ourselves to do is to weigh the validity of those impressions. So generally, a simple example is maybe someone at work says something mean to me, and immediately I get angry. So what actually occurred is there were some words, I assented that they were true, or I assented that they hurt me, and based on that assent, the result, the judgment, was an emotional state, in this case, say, anger. So a proper use of judgment would be to actually weigh that for what it is. Is the criticism true? If it is, maybe I need to change something about the way I'm working. If the criticism isn't true, then it really shouldn't affect me. Either way, regardless of the two I choose, and there might be others, other options, I'm not presenting a soul dichotomy. Still, between these two, either way, anger is an inappropriate response. It's either meaningless, or it's actually a gift in disguise. It's a chance to correct something. Either way, anger is an inappropriate response. So one of the things that we need to focus on for logic is these judgments and the proper use of them. So one of the practical exercises is to actively pay attention to the judgments, to have an internal dialogue and a discourse that this has been presented to your consciousness, and to think about it. Sometimes it's not possible to determine in a reasonably quick amount of time whether an impression is adequate for giving our assent or not. In that case, we're advised to delay judgment, which is another spiritual exercise in regards to logic. It is kind of the default skeptic mode. So if we can't immediately tell whether something has a moral quality or a virtue or vicious quality, we simply delay judgment on the issue until we have time to deal with it. That is carried through to a modern context through CBT, cognitive distance between that stressor or an issue and oneself, to put some space. So we simply delay judgments on the issue. The core purpose of spiritual exercises in regards to logic are to sort of refine and formalize what for most folks are an automatic process. So the things that other people take for granted and generally don't think about is that you have this opportunity to attach a value judgment to impressions. Do you use it? Do you use it well? Do you attach a positive or negative? Or should something rightly be indifferent? So the whole purpose of this exercise is to gain some space, some distance, and make sure that we're making right use of our impressions. Hope that clarified the issue a little bit. If you have further questions, please submit them below in the comments or at mountainstoic.wordpress.com. On the left, click Ask a Stoic, use the form and submit your question. In the following video, we'll be discussing practical exercises, spiritual exercises in regard to physics, so you may want to stick around. Fate permitting, see you next time. Thanks.